In this example, we're going to be talking about how to add rational expressions, but now they're not going to have a common denominator. So we're going to skip this first example because, again, this is the example that we went over in class together. So this is more for the people who were in class on Friday and just need a little quick review of that information. So we're going to move on to the next example, example 5 here. If you weren't here on Friday, that's okay. Just you kind of complete that part when you move on to the completing of the note section. So we're going to look at example 5 here. So when it comes to our step process, the first thing that we said we were going to do, and I'm just going to write it under the step process underneath example 6, is we said that the first thing we had to do is we had to find our LCD, our least common denominator. The way that we're going to do that is we have to factor the denominator. So we're going to start by factoring all of our denominators. Now, if we look at the first denominator of our first fraction, we have this x plus 2. X plus 2 can't factor, but what I like to do is I like to put all of my expressions in a set of parentheses. That way I see it as one term. My second denominator, x squared minus 4, that's going to factor to x plus 2, x minus 2, because that is my difference of two squares. So when you're finding an LCD, least common denominator must include each and every factor. Doesn't need to be a shared factor. So when we're looking at this, we know that x plus 2 has to be involved because that is the shared factor. We're also going to include this x minus 2. So think about it as everything needs to be represented. So our LCD in this example is going to be the x minus 2, x plus 2. Our second step is we're going to look to make each of our fractions equivalent to the LCD. So this is where we might have to do a little bit of multiplication. So if we look at our first fraction again, our first fraction only has the x plus 2 from the LCD. So what we're going to do is we're going to multiply it by x minus 2 as well. Now, whatever we multiply the denominator by, we also have to multiply the numerator by as well. So our first fraction is going to get multiplied by x minus 2. When we look at the second fraction here, we have this x minus 2, same as in our LCD, x plus 2, x plus 2. It's already equivalent, so we don't have to do anything to our second fraction. Now in step 3, we're going to spend a lot of our time now in our numerator. So the first two steps we're talking about our denominator. Now we're looking at our numerator. So we are going to simplify our numerator. Now, what we might want to try and do is we might start to try and cross things off. We want to kind of resist that urge and focus a lot of our attention to what's in this numerator here. So first thing I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to distribute this x to the x minus 2. So that's going to give me x squared minus 2x minus 8 from the second fraction. And since they have a common denominator, we can write them now as one fraction over that common denominator. So in this example, x plus 2, x minus 2. Now in this example, it shockingly works out that we actually don't have anything to simplify. We don't have any like terms in our numerator. So that's where we can move automatically to our fourth step, where we're still looking to simplify, but we're going to look to simplify the fraction altogether. The way that we're going to do that is we're going to see if we can factor our numerator any further. So in this example, our numerator is x squared minus 2x minus 8, which does factor to x minus 4, x plus 2. This is still all over your common denominator. And now if we look, this is where we're going to simplify by looking for those common expressions. We have an x plus 2 on our numerator. That's going to cancel with the x plus 2 on our denominator, where x plus 2s and x plus 2s. From here, we're just simply going to write what we're left with. We have an x minus 4 in our numerator over an x minus 2 in our denominator.